Welcome to the Elementary Math Early Release Day Teacher PD for 4th grade. Here is the placemat that grounds all of the work we do here in CMS. It helps to make sure we are all aligned in the core beliefs of the district's mission, vision, goals, guardrails, and pillars of excellence. Our training today is aligned to the academic pillar of excellence. We hope you are gathered with your grade level PLC to view this video. Here are our session norms. Pause the video here to read the norms. My name is LaQuanda Gilmore, and I am one of the 6 elementary math curriculum specialists with the Learning and Teaching Department here in CMS. Our learning outcomes today are to understand the story of Unit 3 and 4, explore tasks and the vertical progression of learning, learn how to navigate to the PLC unit deep dives, and to gain familiarity with the updated district provision resources. Throughout our time together today, you can expect to do some math and to navigate IMCMS resources. Here are bit.lys for you to access the slide deck and the note catcher for today. They are also located in the resource folder. In thinking about the vertical progression of activities in 4th grade, let's begin with some math. Take a moment to complete these tasks in your note catcher. As you work, consider how your students might approach solving these tasks, using their prior knowledge and concepts they've previously learned this year and in prior grades. Pause the video and come back to chat. When you are finished solving, you may resume the video. These tasks from Unit 3, Lesson 11, Activity 2, and Lesson 12, Activity 1, students are asked to think about and explain how all of these answers could be correct based on how the student names the fraction. These tasks are aligned to standard NC4 and F3. Number lines are used to help students make sense of and solve math problems involving addition of fractions with the same denominator. How did we get here? Let's take a look at how these tasks fit into the larger coherence across grades. In 4th grade Unit 3, number lines are used to help students make sense of and solve problems involving addition of fractions with the same denominator. This progression begins in 2nd grade when students make sense of representations that show addition and subtraction on the number line. This activity can be found in 2nd grade Unit 4, Lesson 7, and is tied to standard NC2 MD6. In 3rd grade, students partitioned a whole into equal parts and identified one of the parts as a unit fraction. They learned that non-unit fractions and whole numbers are composed of unit fractions. The task seen on the screen could be found in 3rd grade Unit 5, Lesson 6, and is tied to standard NC3 and F1. Students also use visual fraction models, including tape diagrams and number lines, to represent and compare fractions. In a previous unit, students extended that work and reasoned about fraction equivalent. The task seen on the screen can be found in 3rd grade Unit 5, Lesson 11, and is tied to standard NC3 and F3. Looking ahead, in Unit 3, fractions are added, subtracted, and multiplied. Number line diagrams support students in reasoning about adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. The number line also helps students see that fractions greater than 1 can be decomposed into a whole number and a fraction and be expressed as a mixed number. In 5th grade, students use their knowledge of adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators through the use of models to adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators with models to develop the algorithm and to multiply equal groups of fractions. The task seen on the screen can be found in 5th grade Unit 2, Lesson 6, and is tied to standard NC5 and F1. Hopefully you were able to see how the mathematical representations were used for 2 main purposes: to help students develop an understanding of the mathematical concepts and procedures taking place in real-world scenarios and to help students solve problems. In Unit 3, students deepen their understanding of fractions by learning to compose and decompose them, multiply fractions by whole numbers, and compare, add, and subtract fractions with like denominators, including tenths and hundredths. They use visual models like tape diagrams and number lines to represent fraction operations and build on familiar concepts from earlier grades. In Unit 4, students extend their place value understanding to read, write, and compare both decimals and multi-digit whole numbers from hundredths to hundred thousands. They use visual models and number lines to explore the relationship between tenths and hundredths and apply place value reasoning to add and subtract numbers within 100,000 while evaluating the reasonableness of their solutions in real-world contexts. Unit 4 resources will become available on October 13th, which is about 6 weeks prior to the unit beginning. Our next early release day PD is not until November 19th, which doesn't allow enough time before the start of the unit to unpack it. There is a teacher workday on November 4th that you may choose to level set with your PLC about this unit by doing some of the math found within the unit like we did here today with Unit 3. We will use November 19th, early release day PD, to provide another asynchronous session preparing you for quarter 3 content. Consider using this unpacking template in the North Carolina Standard Course of Study with your PLC to internalize what each standard for Unit 3 and later on for Unit 4 are asking students to do. This will help the team level set and ensure all discretionary moves that are made fall within the standard. Make sure to read the standard, the bullets contained within the standard, the clarification section of the unpacking document, and the check for understanding examples to get a deep understanding of expectations and mastery. Unit 3 standards consist of NC4 and F3, NC4 and F4, and NC4 and F6. Standards found throughout Unit 4 consist of NC4 and F6, NC4 and F7, NC4 and BT1, NC4 and BT2, NC4 and BT4, NC4 and BT7, and finally NC4 OA3. Before you begin instruction for each new unit, we have created a PLC deep dive to guide you through unpacking each unit. There are several ways you can access these resources. Here is one way that will lead you to accessing the PLC deep dive. Here are the steps that we clicked on at a glance. In the event that you are not enrolled, you may also watch this screen recording on how to access the district provisioned IMCMS math resources. Another way you can access the PLC deep dive is from slide 2 in any curriculum guide. You can access all important resources for each unit in the curriculum guide. Let's take a walk through the Unit 3 curriculum guide to highlight where you can access important information for Unit 3. Here are the sections that you can find in each curriculum guide. Let's look at standards first. You can see a full explanation of each standard by clicking on the yellow Post-it to see the North Carolina unpacking document for each standard in the unit. The standards in the unit are on the next slides and look like this. The next section is the assessment section. The unit assessment can be accessed here. Just click the image of the assessment to the right. The reassessment is linked below the image of the unit assessment. It is important to note here that the third bullet within Standard NC4 and F6 is not taught within this unit. Students will only work with tenths and hundredths as fractions in Unit 3, not decimals. Checkpoints can also be accessed by clicking on the images. In the next section, you will find planning notes, including a unit summary, a list of centers in the unit, summaries for each section. Here is Section A, Section B, and Section C. After the summaries, the individual lesson notes begin. This is where you access links to the lesson, slides, a digital copy of the student workbook, cool downs, practice problems, the answer key to practice problems. You can also see standards, learning targets, lessons purpose, and materials to prep at a glance for each individual lesson. If special notes are needed, you will find those located in the materials to prep, and they will be highlighted. Before we move from lesson notes, notice at the end of the resources row, there is a note sharing the name of the practice problems as they have been entered into Mastery Connect as technology enhanced items. You can access them in the same way that you access unit assessments by syncing your tracker. Remember that sometimes the set of problems may live behind or within a standard on your tracker if they are single standard sets of problems. The small box above the standard indicates how many assessments created live within that standard. When you click the standard, you will see all of the assessments that live within the standard. The TEI items include a variety of question types. Here are some examples. For unfamiliar items, directions for how to answer the questions are included in the problem. The final section of the curriculum guide is the small group section. This section highlights big ideas of the unit, key teaching points, and resources that can be used to re-engage students in the work of the unit as needed. You will also find resources to extend learning in the final column on these slides. You might be wondering when to use these resources. Teachers should be pulling flexible small groups of students who still need clarity on specific skills and concepts or enhancing learning for students who are ready to apply what they've learned throughout the unit. You may use these resources in the small group section to re-engage students in the content of this unit during the daily 30 minutes designed for small groups, practice problems, and centers. You can also use these resources to re-engage students on the putting it all together or review day prior to the unit assessment. And of course, you can use these resources to re-engage students in the content on flex days, being intentional about the resources you use and the data you've collected to ensure student mastery of standards. Great sources of data could be found in cool downs, section checkpoints, practice problem, observation, and response data. Looking ahead and thinking about pacing for Unit 4, use the Quarter 2 calendar to determine when your PLC will meet again to unpack Unit 4. All of these parts of the curriculum guides would support your PLC as you dive deep into each unit. Currently, Unit 3 is available, and this document shows when Unit 4 resources will be available October 13th. You can access this document in Math Rocks on the home page above the grade level buttons. We have a few reminders. The NVPA 1 testing window is November 17th through November 25th. Here are the standards that will be assessed on NVPA 1 for 4th grade. Though there are recommended dates to administer the NVPA On our district pacing calendar, individual schools can decide when to administer the test within the window based on their school's testing calendar. Weekly tidbits for fourth grade are provided to support with the story of the unit and just-in-time supports. Weekly tidbits are delivered directly to your email account. If you have not yet been receiving the weekly tidbits, use the link on slide 2 in the curriculum guide to subscribe. After administering the universal screener, there are 3 key ways to use iReady resources effectively. First, students can follow the platform-created learning pathways outside of whole group core instructional time to reinforce their current performance levels. The district expectation is that every student completes and passes 45 minutes per week per content area. Second, teachers can assign lessons aligned to on-grade level standards currently being taught in the curriculum, also to be completed outside of whole group core time. Suggested times for completing activities outside of whole group core instruction include morning work, differentiated core time, flex days, homework, or after-school programs. Thank you so much for your participation in today's asynchronous teacher PD session. Please use the QR code to access the KBQs and attendance. The KBQs consist of 5 questions, and once you press submit, you will be taken to a bit.ly for attendance. I hope you enjoy and have a good rest of your day.